Good evening. Good evening and welcome. My name is Lynn Thompson. I am a proud member of the class of '72 at Scripps College. Right, it's good, right? And I'm the current chair of the Board of Trustees at the college. But what I'm really most excited about tonight is the opportunity to introduce two amazing women and their poetry here for all of us. Tonight's program is part of Scripps Presents, the public programming series at the college. Over the course of the year, the series hosts some of the most dynamic and diverse artists, writers, and scholars from across disciplines to engage our campus and local community in conversation about today's most relevant and pressing issues. Tonight's readings promise to give us powerful words and ideas for consideration. Our first reader will be Nicole Seeley. I personally know Nicole to be an inspiring poet. Her line, "Even the gods misuse the unfolding blue," led to my own poem that I call Unfolding Blue. So thanks, Nicole, for that. Born in St. Thomas, U.S. Virgin Islands, and raised in Apopka, Florida, Nicole is the author of Ordinary Beast and The Animal After Whom Other Animals Are Named, winner of the 2015 Drinking Gourd Chapbook Prize. Her other honors include an Elizabeth George Foundation grant, the Stanley Kunitz Memorial Prize from the American Poetry Review, a Daniel Varajan, I hope I pronounced that correctly, award, and the Poetry International Prize, as well as fellowships from Canto Mondo, MacDowell Colony, and the Poetry Project. Her work has appeared in The New Yorker, The New York Times, and elsewhere. Nicole holds an MLA in Africana Studies from the University of South Florida and an MFA in Creative Writing from New York University. She is the executive director at Cave Canem Foundation. Tonight, Nicole joins us as part of a partnership this spring with Pasadena's publishing house, Red Hen Press. Our second reader tonight will be Morgan Parker. Paraphrasing our mutual friend, Patricia Smith, who some of you heard read here last fall, quote, "If you're anxious for your snug perspective to be rattled and ripped asunder, for the predictable landscape you stroll to become all but unrecognizable, sisters and brothers, have I got a book for you." Morgan is the author of There Are More Beautiful Things Than Beyoncé, I could steal that title, and Other People's Comfort Keeps Me Up at Night. Her poetry and essays have appeared in Tin House, the Paris Review, the Breakbeat Poets, New American Poetry in the Age of Hip Hop, Best American Poetry 2016, the New York Times, and The Nation. She is the recipient of a 2017 National Endowment for the Arts Literature Fellowship, winner of a 2016 Pushcart Prize, and a Cave Canem Graduate Fellow. Her latest connection, Magical Negro, was published earlier this month. Now please help me to welcome to Scripps Nicole Seeley and Morgan Parker.
Hi. First, I'd like to thank Scripps College. Thank you, Lynn, for that introduction. Karina, Marcy, Kevin, Morgan, Henry, thank you. And all of you for being here tonight. It's a real honor and a pleasure to be here, to read with Morgan, whom I haven't seen in, seems like forever. It's been too long, so I'm eager to hear you. So I'm going to read a few poems and then get out of the way. The first of which is, "The first person who will live to be 150 years old has already been born," and it is for my mother. Scientists say the average human life gets 3 months longer every year. By this math, death will be optional, like a tie or dessert or suffering. My mother asks whether I'd want to live forever. I'd get bored, I tell her. But she says there's so much to do, meaning she believes there's much she hasn't done. 30 years ago, she was the age I am now, but unlike me, too industrious to think about birds disappeared by rain. If only we had more time or enough money to be kept on ice until such a time science could bring us back. Of late, my mother has begun to think life short-lived. I'm too young to convince her otherwise. The one and only occasion I was in the same room as the Mona Lisa, it was encased in glass behind what I imagine were velvet ropes. There's far less between ourselves and oblivion, skin that often defeats its very purpose. Or maybe its purpose isn't protection at all, but rather to provide a place similar to a doctor's waiting room in which to sit until our names are called. Hold your questions until the end. Mother, measure my wide open arms. We still have this much time to kill. Medical history. I've been pregnant. I've had sex with a man who's had sex with men. I can't sleep. My mother's mother had asthma. My father had a stroke. My father's mother has high blood pressure. Both grandfathers died from diabetes. I drink. I don't smoke. Xanax for flying, propranolol for anxiety. My eyes are bad. I'm spooked by wind. Cousin Lily died from an aneurysm. Aunt Ilda, a heart attack. Uncle Ken, wise as he was hit by a car, as if to disprove whatever theory toward which I write. And I understand the stars in the sky are already dead. So that's as happy as they get, so bear with me. The next poem takes its title from the motto of Equinox, which is a luxury gym. It's not fitness, it's a lifestyle. I'm waiting for a white woman in this overpriced Equinox to mistake me for someone other than a paying member. I can see it now as I leave the steam room, naked but for my wedding ring. She'll ask whether I've finished cleaning it. Every time I'm at an airport, I see a bird flying around inside. So fast, I can't make out its wings. I ask myself, what is it doing here? I've come to answer, what is any of us? Hysterical strength. When I hear news of a hitchhiker struck by lightning yet living, or a child lifting a 2-ton sedan to free his father pinned underneath, or a camper fighting off a grizzly with her bare hands until someone, a hunter perhaps, can shoot it dead, my thoughts turn to Black people, the hysterical strength we must possess to survive our very existence, which I fear many believe is and treat as itself a freak occurrence. So this next poem was inspired by this work of art by this dude named Thomas Hirshhorn, and it looks like it is 8 mannequins wrapped in brown duct tape, and lifted up on a wooden structure. So that inspired this piece. And it's called Candelabra with Heads, after the work of art. Candelabra with heads. Oh, and the form of the poem is, it's 4 stanzas. The 3rd and 4th stanzas, they're the reverse of the 1st and 2nd. And the last line of the poem is essentially the poem's thesis question. That's a lot, right? But you got it. You got it. Candelabra with heads. Had I not brought with me my mind, as it has been made, this thing, this brood of mannequins cocooned and mounted on a wooden scaffold, might be 8 infants swaddled and sleeping, might be 8 fleshy fingers on one hand, might be a family tree with 8 pictured frames. Such treaties occur in the brain. Can you see them hanging? Their shadow is a crowd stripping the tree of souvenirs. Skin shrinks and splits. The bodies weep fat the color of yolk. Can you smell them burning? Their perfume climbing, as wisteria would a trellis. As wisteria would a trellis burning, their perfume climbing, fat the color of yolk. Can you smell them? Skin shrinks and splits, the bodies weep, is a crowd stripping the tree of souvenirs. Can you see them hanging? Their shadow frames, such treaties occur in the brain. Might be a family tree with 8 pictured, might be 8 fleshy fingers on one hand, might be 8 infants swaddled and sleeping and mounted on a wooden scaffold, this brood of mannequins cocooned as it has been made, this thing. Had I not brought with me my mind, who can see this and not see lynchings? Y'all good? So this next poem is inspired by the last poem I just read. So in my chapbook, The Animal After Whom Other Animals Are Named, the poem I just read appears, but without that last line, who can see this and not see lynchings? And I extracted it at the advice of editors whom I adore and trust, but decided for my full-length book that that line needed to be there. So this next poem is in defense of that movement of putting that last line back, who can see this and not see lynchings. So this is called In Defense of Candelabra with Heads. If you've read the candelabra with heads that appears in this collection and the one in the animal, thank you. The original, the one included here, is an example, I'm told, of a poem that can speak for itself but loses faith in its ability to do so by ending with a thesis question. Yeats said a poem should click shut like a well-made box. I don't disagree. I ask who can see this and not see lynchings, not because I don't trust you, dear reader, or my own abilities. I ask because the imagination would have us believe, much like faith the original candelabra lacks in things unseen. You should know that human limbs burn like branches and branches like human limbs. Only after man began hanging man from trees, then setting him on fire, which would jump from limb to branch like a bastard species of bird, did we come to know such things. 100 years from now, October 9, 2116, 8:18 p.m., when all but the lucky are good and dead, may someone happen upon the question in question. May that lucky someone be black and so far removed from the verb lynch that she be dumbfounded by its meaning. May she then call up Hirshhorn's candelabra with heads. May her imagination not her memory run wild. I'll read a fun poem. I think it's fun. An apology for trashing magazines in which you appear. I was out of line, Brad Pitt. You're no Elliot Spitzer. I'm no preacher. This apology, no bully pulpit where I sermonize our epitasis, a Woody Allen tragicomedy in which I play serendipity and am blinded by you, a star, Jupiter. Third brightest in the night, spitting image of the sky god. Patience might be for pipits and forever a spit of land neighboring Atlantis, but I'll wait my turn. Pity your first marriage ended. I didn't mind her as much as that Jolie Pitt situation, complete with pitter-patter of 12 Benetton-inspired feet. But I'm not bitter. My pit bull bears your name, and I call my man with whom I'm going to Pittsburgh for a wedding out his name into yours, Brad Pitt. Daydreams of you and me rivaled only by Brandon and me on Peach Pit counters from the original 90210. Even so, I'd wish he were you, Adonis epitome. Abandon Hollywood for Bed-Stuy, skip down spit-paved sidewalks to my brownstone. My poetry pittance, your movie money. I suspect we'd do fine with our combined capital. We'd be the mixed-race pits on Tompkins Park. I'd be hospitable, hosting meet and greets so as not to appear uppity. Casually introducing you, I'd say, oh, this is Brad. This is just Brad Pitt. You'd find macabre humor in my obsession with Poe's Pit and the pendulum and the palpitating telltale heart. The heart is an odd organ, a maudlin muscle, a cesspit of undeserved affection. I admit I've had trouble pitting good sense against non, but who hasn't? Did you know the per capita divorce rate is 50%? Pitiful. Like with Juliet and Jennifer, I pray Angelina was a pit stop on your way to Brooklyn. When I first saw you, Brad Pitt, I was 15 and became so ill, I was rushed to the hospital. My hands, feet, and armpits began to sweat as if I too were riding horseback up a hill toward a love who made the pit of my stomach ache. Literally, Legends of the Fall was my pitfall. Brad Pitt, I imagine a much older you, spitfire and only slightly decrepit, staring my epitaph down as if your gaze were the capital and my headstone a ghetto to be pitied. All right, back to sadness. Heretofore unuttered, as if God, despite his compulsions, were decent and hadn't the tendency to throw off all appearance of decorum. Here I am, admiring this single violet orchid. How lucky am I to go unnoticed, or so I imagine, when, at this writing, there's a red-tailed hawk somewhere, tracking the soft shrills of newborn songbirds. I think I'll just read 4 more, not very long. And this is Even the Gods, the poem that Lynn mentioned in the intro. So this is for Lynn. Even the gods misuse the unfolding blue. Even the gods misread the wind flowers' nod towards sunlight as consent to consume. Still, You envy the horse that draws their chariot, bone of their bone. The wilting mash of air alone keeps you from scaling Olympus with gifts of dead or dying things dangling from your mouth. Your breath like the sea inching away. It is rumored gods grow where the blood of a hanged man drips. You insist on being this man. The gods abuse your grace. Still, you'd rather live among the clear, cloudless white, enjoying what is left of their ambrosia. Who should be happy this time? Who brings cake to whom? Pray the gods do not misquote your covetous pulse for chaos, the black from which they were conceived. Even the eyes of gods must adjust to light. Even gods have gods. There's that poem. Oh, here it is. Instead of executions, think death erections. I wish the day hadn't. Dawn has claimed another sky, its birds. I watch from my burning stake the broken necks. Once this lot allowed wildflowers. Nothing worse than bruised wildflowers. Darling dawn, death mask to which I've grown accustomed. Show me one pretty thing, no heavier than a hummingbird. Just two more. Imagine Sisyphus happy. Give me tonight to be inconsolable, so the death drive does not declare itself, so the moonlight does not convince sunrise. I was born before sunrise, when morning masquerades as night, the temperature of blood quivering like a mouth in mourning. How do we author our gentle birth, the height we were? Were we gods rolling stars across a sundog sky, the same as scarabs? We fit somewhere between God and mineral, angel and animal, believing a thing as sacred as the sun rises and falls like an ordinary beast. Deer sniff lifeless fawns before leaving. Elephants encircle the skulls and tusks of their dead, none wanting to leave the bones behind, none knowing their leave will lessen the loss. But birds pluck their own feathers. Dogs lick themselves to wound. Allow me this luxury. Give me tonight to cut and salt the open. Give me a shovel to uproot the mandrake and listen for its scream. Give me a face that toils so closely with stone, it is itself stone. I promise to enter the flesh again. I promise to circle, to ascend. I promise to be happy tomorrow. And this is my final poem. Thank you so much for listening. It has been an absolute pleasure. Object permanence for my husband, John. We wake as if surprised the other is still there, each petting the sheet to be sure. How have we managed our way to this bed? Beholden to heat like dawn, indebted to light. though we're not so self-important as to think everything has led to this, everything has led to this. There's a name for the animal love makes of us, named, I think, like rain for the sound it makes. You are the animal after whom other animals are named. Until there's none left to laugh, days will start with the same startle and end with caterpillars gorged on milkweed. Oh, how we entertain the angels with our brief animation. Oh, how I'll miss you when we're dead. Thank you.
Hi. Oh my God, that was so good. I love that poem, Object Permanence, and I am a person who's never experienced romantic love ever. So when I heard Nicole read that the first time, I was like, that's the thing. You know? Just aspirational, Nicole and John. Hi. Thanks all for being here, and thanks to Karina and Lynn, and all of y'all. I am from the Inland Empire, so this is particularly special for me to come back like prodigal daughter and, let y'all know what I've been doing. I'm going to start with some poems from Magical Negro and then save a little bit of time for some poems in There Are More Beautiful Things Than Beyoncé. I'll start at the beginning. This poem takes its title from a line in Gertrude Stein's, a line from Zora Neale Hurston, which was then repurposed by the artist Glenn Ligon in this incredible text painting. Yeah. I feel most colored when I'm thrown against a sharp white background. Or I feel sharp white. Or colored against, or I am thrown, I am against, or when white, I sharp, I color, quiet, forget, my country is a boat. I feel most colored when I swear to God. I feel most colored when it is too late, when I am captive. The last thing on my mind is death. I tongue elegy. I color green because green is the color of power. I am growing two fruits. I feel most colored when I am thrown against the sidewalk. It is the last time I feel colored. Stone is the name of the fruit. I am a man, I am a man, I am a woman, I am a man, I am a woman, I am protected and served. I background my country sharp in my throat. I pay taxes, and I am a child, and I grow into a bright, fleshy fruit. White bites. I stain the uniform. I am thrown black typeface in a headline with no name, or no one hears me. I am thrown bone, unarmed. I feel most colored when my weapon is when I get what I deserve, when I can't breathe, when on television I shuffle and widen my eyes. I feel most colored when I am thrown against a mattress, my tits, my waist, my ankles buried in white ash. Everyone claps. I feel most colored when I am the punchline, when I am the trigger. In the dawn, putrid yellow, I know what I am being told. My country pisses on my grave. Elegy, my country bigger than God. I feel most colored when I am collecting dust, when I am impatient and sick. They use us to distract us. My ears leak violet petals. I sharpen them again. Everyone claps. So this is an extremely sad book that I wrote, obviously. I'm Black in America, and I couldn't resist. But There are some jokes, in my opinion, so feel free to try to find those. And also, just like, don't worry about me. I have several doctors that I'm under the care of. Just sometimes feels appropriate to say that. Where is this next one? Sorry. Well, I guess I'll just kind of start with this long-ish. The history of Black people. 1. The saddest triptych is our blood, trouble passed down, a root out on our wet, stiff suits. Everyone walks behind us. I would rather dance hoodwinked with the devil than be alone. I pick bad juju over yellow meadow and your moon. Florida, Kentucky hemlocks grow in sepia light. Red clay everywhere. This isn't a dream. In the beginning, red clay. 2. The history of Black people after Jean-Michel Basquiat. The history of Black people, an allegory for Denzel Washington's continuous battle with various forms of transportation. Struggles. The history of Black people, a Black feminist reading of Cinderella starring Whitney Houston and Brandy. The history of Black people, or that feeling when Lauryn Hill is in your school choir but drops out right before the statewide competition. The history of Black people, a new series coming to BET 20 years ago. The history of Black people, an investigation. The history of Black people, a tragicomic horror film. The history of Black people, or joy stinging pink lips. The history of Black people says me. The history of Black people goes blank. The history of Black people adapted from white people. 3. Single Black female cries into a glass of rosé on a Friday in April at 10:54 p.m., is once again an unpleasant movie date, makes every little thing political, needlessly references Paula Abdul's stint as a Laker girl, wakes up fevering in the dark, afraid of trust, forever sucking on a technical bad mood, imagines her bones damned, false teeth in the grass below her feet, is a patient culprit, names her heart a dumb tick. Forgive us our dissonance. We hold shame close. A Black boy's hairline finally puts us to sleep. A sea creature shucks sand for gems. 4. If you cut open my heart, it would be midnight at the greatest party of all time. A miniature Sean Carter and Audre Lorde feasting on difference. Uppity Negroes and highfalutins and Tyrones. Rick James appearing before Judge Joe Brown. Granddaddies eating fruit over the sink. Bernie Mac growling, "America, let's talk." I never went to recess because I don't play. I never learned to swim, but I went swimming. I make my enemy disease in my blood. I never believed in love. I carry us all in me, drag my hooves in tall grass and breathe when I'm full, bask in a real feel-good fugitive moment. Even the sun yawns when I pray. 5. On the first page of every library book, there's a question mark for us, backs bent out of exclamation. We don't know any of your words, but our children have licked them up in pools of sweat. Have you ever felt like a square peg in a round hole? Do you sometimes dream of a handful of Skittles sprawling on February lawn? If our legend was allowed, it would sing alligator scales. It would be written in red clay. It was an open and shut case. It never lived to be 18. This is our first and last love song. Black Women for Beginners, Part 1. Every time a hot comb simmers, we dread. We get hurt so often, we think it's a nickname. When we say we remember, we mean hurricane, hunt, meadow, lust, duty, escape, settle, mourn, birch, baptism, tithe, kneel, sphinx, throat, offering, animal, deadwood. We get hurt so often we never run. Every time we lick our lips, the day obeys and repents. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Hot comb on the stove, train tracks in the weeds. Parker's Mood by Charlie Parker. I am only as lonely as anybody else, I say at lunch downtown, examining my worth. It isn't summertime. At the end, I rarely read this poem out loud because it's like, I don't know, just kind of like heady and sad. But Nicole emboldened me. It's a little bit long, but you know, we'll be fine. Or we won't, and that's how it's gonna be. A brief history of the present. Virgil Tibbs isn't arrested exactly, but the white cop in Sparta, Mississippi, tells him to spread his legs, boy, and get into the back of the police car. Darren Wilson cannot find a job 12 months after the shooting, which left his round cheeks pink with adrenaline. He lives a quiet life. His blue eyes sparkle. He is a man who shot a boy. No, a suspect. Boy. Rodney King became nationally known after he was beaten. Journalists consider flimsy words ironic and alternative, fault and intention. Even angels want LA fame. On the phone, I asked Jericho how the South is treating him. He says today he wasn't shot to death, and we laugh. There's no way a black woman killed herself because everyone knows we can withstand inhuman amounts of pain. There's no way she didn't hang herself. Dumb, brown martyr, not mentally sound to begin with. Immortal, magical, not like angels, but like drinking water, like roads. Trick question, is mercy ever justified? Aren't all masters benevolent? Now, please use the space below to create a graph showing the price of water. There's no way we don't deserve it. In 1992 in California, my white classmates are like, aren't you glad you're free? You're people. What if you lived in the olden days? I've seen pictures of slavery, crude charcoals and watered down history books, and that's how I know I'm not a slave. A sergeant testified that Ronnie King exhibited Hulk-like strength. His name was Coon, and repetition is a literary device, and paranoia is a weakness of the oppressed. We cannot be mentally sound. What began to leak then from the laceration was discipline, which for the slave is a tick of survival, and for a nation is the practice of denial. What did he have in his system? Was it hunger or money? Was it glass, plants, voice? Death is the only cultural truth because there are fake marriages every day, and even rappers are cooked up in an office in somebody's pink cheeks. Dylan Roof, Burger King, Urban Outfitters. I know it's just a movie, but I'm still afraid of what I see when I fall asleep. I know the masses ask me every day for a eulogy. I know I am supposed to say shot and killed, say brutality, to call my life a life. This is their language and not mine. This is not my mouth. Multiple choice. In what year did a black man hang from a tree? Who is a nigger? Which of the following are Negroes free to do? Marry, own property, vote, drive, speak, bear arms, organize, revolt, be president, make movies, laugh. Which is greater, the amount of minutes it takes for a requested backup to arrive at the scene of a 12-year-old in a park playing with toys, or the varieties of insects that might make contact with a person laid in a street over the course of 4 hours on a summer evening in St. Louis? How patient must we be? Praise the endurance. Or is it suspicious, almost not human? Who else is so great but the devil himself? I worry sometimes I will only be allowed a death story. No one will say in the New Yorker how my mother made her money, who I married, how my career began. Your people. The death story is just a name folded into another name. My name might be a list, or a hymn, or a body, an investigation, a year, a lineage. I might become an autopsy. And the reason won't matter, only my understanding, my swallowing of my rightful place, tectonic plates clicking like a jaw and stubbornly like history, my mouth becoming their mouth, speaking who I am. Thanks for going through that with me. I read it in St. Louis and lost my shit. I was like, I shouldn't have done that. Let's see. There's something in here that brings me joy. I'm certain of it. This poem is after Solange's album, A Seat at the Table. We are the house that holds the table at which, yes, we will happily take a goddamn seat. No one can serve two masters like we can. Be future and what they threaten to forget. Be Richard Pryor live on Sunset and be the sunset. Kiss the ground, burn it to the ground, slay dragon, speak dragon. Sometimes it feels like we invented America ourselves. The difference between worth and worthless without them is science. How it feels to not be able to see a person, and the number of instances when we believed we should die. For dinner, watermelon and a dry white, gin nightcap, low moon, how fucking dare we? The probability of a wave carrying a pearl in its mouth is the probability of a lamb slicing its own white neck, tying its legs to a spit for someone else's feast. I'm just gonna do one more from this book and then just maybe two from that other one that I made. And Cold Sunset. How I feel about you is smoking a cigarette in the rain. I think about walking into traffic and suddenly your dick. I think about a yellow line and then a road and then an animal. And nothing rises up. And horror is a verb. I want to forgive myself for overindulging. Food delivery men see me without a bra more than anyone else. My body is an argument I did not start. In a way, I am not aware who made me. I bow down to a deep plea. When strangers call my name, I feel like a white girl, skin in reverse and a quiet pussy. Nothing helps me not think about universes. I'm funny because I know nothing matters. Start at the beginning of this one too. This title is all caps, and that feels important to mention. All they want is my money, my pussy, my blood. I am free with the following conditions. Give it up, gimme. Okay, so I'm black in America, right? And I walk into a bar. I drink a lot of wine and kiss a black man on his beard. I do whatever I want because I could die any minute. I don't mean YOLO, I mean they are hunting me. I know my pussy is real good because they said so. I say to my friend, I am broke as a joke. I am starving like Marvin Gaye. I'm so hungry I could get it on. There's far too many of me dying. The present is not so different. Everybody looks like everybody I worked with. Everybody looks like everybody I kissed. Men, champion men, and animals. Everybody thinks I'm going to die. At the museum, I tell the school group about Black art. I tell them the word contemporary. I have a nose ring I forget about. I have a brother, and he is also Black. I am a little modern to a fault. I say, this painting is contemporary, like you and me. They ask me about slavery. They say Martin Luther King. At school, they learned that Black people happened. The present is not so different. I'm looking into their Black faces. They do not understand that they exist. I'm Black in America, and I walk into a bar and drink a lot of wine, kiss a white man on his beard. There is no indictment. I could die any minute of depression. I just want to have sex most of the time. I just want my student loans to disappear. I just want to understand my savings account. What is happening to my $5 1 cent? I am free with the following conditions. What is happening to my brother? What if I do something wrong? My blood is so hot and right now I know they want it. I do everything right just in case. I don't want to give away my money, but here I am. It's so stupid, I have to say, here I am. They like to be on top. I am being set up. I am a tree, and some fruits are good and some are bad. I'll go ahead and read this poem. I kind of missed this poem. Some of the poems in this book, and actually any book that has the word president, just like P.S., I'm talking about the Black one. So, that feels important to note. Always talking about the Black one, just as a general rule. The president has never said the word Black. To the extent that one begins to wonder if he is broken, it is not so difficult to open teeth and brass taxes. The president is all like, 5 on the bleep hand side. The president be like, we lost a young boy today. The pursuit of happiness is guaranteed for all fellow Americans. He is nobody special like us. He says brothers and sisters. What kind of bodies are movable and feasts? What color are visions? When he opens his mouth, a chameleon is inside starving. I think I'll just do one more. I'm not timing myself, so sorry. Okay. I'll just do one more from here. I forgot about this book. Why not? We know who Hottentot Venus is, right? This is college. Yeah? Cool. If not, we can Google. A history lesson for y'all. But quickly, I guess, Hottentot Venus was a woman who was basically paraded around like this circus, act, because she was Black, and people would pay to go marvel at just what the fuck her body looked like. So that's crazy, right? That's fucked up. Anyway, Hottentot Venus. I wish my pussy could live in a different shape and get some goddamn respect. Should I thank you? Business is booming, and I am not loved the way I want to be. I am an elastic winter, sympathy and shock, addictive decoration. In the sunlight, my captors drink African hibiscus. They tell me I look regal bearing fruit. I am technically nothing human. I will never be a woman. Somewhere in my memory, I was held by a man who said I deserved it. Now I understand. No one worries about me because I'm getting paid. I am here to show you who you are, to cradle your large skulls and remind you you are perfect. Mother America, unleash your sons. Everything beautiful you own. Thank you.
Morgan Parker, everyone. Thank you so much. Can you hear me? Yes. Morgan Parker, Nicole Seeley, another round for both of them. Feel very lucky indeed to serve as a space for your reunion. It was a really powerful night, so thank you.